Hey guys, today we are going to be doing a 2024 prediction, and this one I'm glad I thought of because I think this one will be interesting. And we're going to do Larry Hogan, the governor of Maryland, and he will be the former governor of Maryland, and former governor of Montana, Steve Bullock. Bullock. I'm sorry, I forgot. I think it's Bullock. Bullock, but you don't say it like that. But it's Bullock or something. I don't remember, But yeah, I think this would be an interesting case scenario because these are somewhat similar people. They were both governors of a state that their parties they were both governors of a state that their parties did not do well. Like Larry Hogan's a Republican from Maryland, and Steve Bullock is a governor from Montana, and those are both and obviously Maryland's a very Democratic state, and Montana's pretty Republican, even though they are pretty open. But yeah, this is what I'm gonna do for the video. Let's do safe states. I think Steve Bullock would do well in Washington due to being somewhat close to Montana. Also Oregon, I think he would do well in. California, obviously. New Mexico, I think. Well, New Mexico would no. That could be likely, but I'm just gonna give that to safe. I think Steve Bullock would be a better candidate, though. I don't think Larry Hogan being the governor from Maryland would change anything really. And let's say Larry Hogan, second district. States for Larry Hogan easily. Let's say Idaho, Utah, Wyoming, the usual stuff. Okay, and I think that's going to be it. But yeah, these are the safe states. Always forget Illinois, sometimes Hawaii, and DC. I do not know why I keep doing this. But I think these would be the swing states. Actually, I'm going to change some states. Larry Hogan, likely in Iowa, likely in Ohio. I'm going to. I think it would be safe in Missouri, I think. And I'm going to say likely in Kansas because it just feels right to me. But I would say he would do that because Larry Hogan would not do well with the Trump base. And Steve Bullock has some more appeal than an average Democrat would in these states. So that's why I'm going to give them all to Larry Hogan by a likely margin. Let's start with Montana. So Montana, I think, would be a very crucial swing state. Steve Bullock is the Democrat. He was. I forgot if he was running for re-election and he lost, or he didn't run for re-election and he couldn't, or term limits. I remember. I just don't know. But I think Larry Hogan does have some appeal in Montana, but Steve Bullock is also the governor there, and and Montana Republicans are open to anyone. Like I've said in my Gretchen Whitmer prediction video, which I'll put in the information box, and the political chatter said that, not me. But if you watch that video, I quoted him on that. But I think I'm going to have to give it to Steve Bullock by a lean tilt margin. Sorry. I think that's his home state. And, Montana, I think Steve Bullock, if he wanted to campaign there, if he wanted to campaign there, he could win. Montana doesn't have the biggest population, so it's more easy to convince, people to vote for you, I guess. Like, if there's, yeah, it's easier to convince more people to vote for you. And even though it might not be a big group of people, it's like a small state. So that small group of people could be a big group of people. And then there's the people that actually vote. So I do think Steve Bullock would win If he would be elected governor for like 2 terms, I believe, I think he would win. I think he would win the presidential election by a tilt margin. Minnesota, I think Steve Bullock will win by a safe margin. Wisconsin's kind of tricky. So Larry Hogan would not do well for the Trump base, and the Trump base would despise him, I think. And I think, you know, I'm gonna give this to Steve Bullock by a lean margin, maybe. That might, I don't know. I think this is a tricky one. Larry Hogan might do well here. He could do well. I could see him doing a good job here, but I just don't. I think Steve Bullock would be alternatively better candidate. I just see him being the stronger candidate. I think he would appeal to more voters, and I just see him just being a better candidate in Wisconsin. The Trump base wouldn't vote for Larry Hogan. They wouldn't vote at all. They would vote, because Larry Hogan is an anti-Trump base. Larry Hogan might do well with some independents, but I feel like Steve Bullock would appeal to them more. And Pennsylvania also. Larry Hogan also could do well here, but Trump, Pennsylvania, the Trump base is not the Trump base doesn't decide elections, but a Republican somewhat needs to have it. If like it's just like it's a pretty good percentage of the votes, and then Steve Bullock I think would win a lot. I feel like he would win a lot of white independent voters, a lot of white blue collar workers, and he would hold on to the voters that Biden would win in 2020. He would be able to get them to stay with the Democratic Party this time. And I think that would be a really good thing. And Larry Hogan would be a weak candidate because he would not appeal to the Trump base. And that's why Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, I think, would be lean. I think Steve Bullock would do really well with white independents. And Michigan, I don't know Michigan. I want to say likely or lean. Let's say lean. 5 point margin, 4 point margin. That's being very generous when you think about it. So I'm going to give that to him by a 4 point margin. Like again, Steve Bullock, I see him winning the suburbs in Michigan. I think in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, you want to win blue collar white workers. I guess that could be counted as the suburbs, but in Michigan, you want to win the suburbs. And I think that the suburbs and I feel like I just see the suburbs going to Steve Bullock. I just see him doing well. It's just something I feel like he would just be good with them. And I'm not the biggest I don't know that much about Steve Bullock. Um but I from what I do know about him, I think he would do well with that group. And next would be New Hampshire. So New Hampshire, I'm just gonna say likely for Bullock. I think he'd do well here. Larry Hogan might have some appeal as a New England. Well, I guess Maryland a southern state or a New England state? Well, what do you guys think? Tell me in the comments if you think what type of state it is, Maryland. Maryland, I have no idea. I see Maryland as just like the DC area, but anyways, I think Larry Hogan might have some more appeal in New Hampshire than some other Republicans, but Steve Bullock, I think, would have more appeal. North Carolina, this is a tricky one. I think I want to give this one to Larry Hogan. Well, yeah. I feel like I think there is a Trump base in North Carolina. Every single state has a Trump base somewhere. But I feel like a lot of voters in North Carolina are traditional, straight in the middle Republican, but they're not extreme like Donald Trump, Trump, like MAGA, not like ultra MAGA. I think that like North Carolina is filled with traditional Republican voters. I just don't see a lot of like over the top MAGA people there. That's why I think Larry Hogan will win. I think he would win by a lean. I'm gonna say a lean margin. I think this could be tip margin, but I just think Larry Hogan would do well. North Carolina is that state where if you lose the Trump base, it's not that big of a deal. I think Larry Hogan would be pretty appealing to a lot of voters here and would win I think he would win Republicans and some of the amount of independent voters. But I feel like Steve Bullock, he could be. He's kind. From what I know about him, he's kind of like Roy Cooper if you think about it a little bit. I see some similarities a little bit. So actually, that's why I'm gonna make it tilt. But I do think Larry Hogan would win the state, just with those traditional Republicans staying with him, and there's not and those. But I do think Steve Bullock could be someone like Roy Cooper in the state. Um, Now next is Georgia. So Georgia, this is a tricky one. This, I think this one, oh, this is. I want it. I feel like Larry Hogan would actually like win it by like some basically 5 point like votes at this point, but like I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna give it to Steve Bullock. It doesn't matter though. Steve Bullock has the majority of the vote right now, so he would be president. But okay, but Georgia, well, I'm trying to think about it. I think I'll give it to Lee. I don't know a lot about Steve Bullock. From what I do know about him, I do not know if he would do well with the minority vote. He might do somewhat well with the minority vote, but I feel like he wouldn't because you can't. I just don't think he would do really well with the minority vote. Obviously he'll win the numbers that the Democrats usually win the black vote and Hispanic vote by. The Hispanic vote is leaving the Republican Party. I mean, Democratic Party, and is becoming Hispanics are becoming more Republican though, and black pe- and black voters are some older black voters are going to the Republican Party, but most black voters are just not voting. But that's off topic. Never mind. But I do think Steve Bullock would win it by a lean margin because I feel like the minority vote has a bigger presence, I would say, in Georgia than North Carolina, maybe you could say. And um, I think that he would just do well. I don't know how to explain it. I think he would do well in Georgia, and I think he would win by a lean or tilt margin. Nothing too special, 2-1 points, or even under 1 point. Anything in between, you decide. I just think he would win, and I don't think Larry. I just don't see Larry Hogan really winning. There is a decently sized Trump MAGA, like a MAGA Trump state. I mean MAGA. I mean, sorry. There is a decent MAGA Trump. What am I saying? There's a decent Trump base. I don't know why that took me so long to say that. There's a decent Trump base in Georgia, though, and Larry Hogan would be somewhat hurted by that. And Larry Hogan, I just don't see winning. I just don't see Larry Hogan winning those Democrats. I mean, not Democrats. Sorry. I mean, minority vote. I just don't see him winning at all. Florida, I'm going to give Larry Hogan by a likely margin. Even though the Trump base here, the Trump base here is more. I feel like this Florida's weird. Their Trump base. I feel like a lot of their Trump base, the a lot of the Trump base is made out of traditional Republicans a little bit. When I say traditional Republicans, I'm talking about the 70-year-olds that love Reagan in Florida. I'm talking about those. Those are somewhat traditional Republicans, but they're also in the Trump base, I would say. And I would say Larry Hogan would win those group. I think Larry Hogan would win older Trump base voters in Florida, but the younger, anything 45 and younger, he would not win. So that's why I'm giving it likely. And independent voters, he would mostly win. I'm just say likely margin 6 points. Texas, Texas is a rough one. I don't really know. Um, Texas is well. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. Um, I'm just curious to hear what you guys think about Texas. I think Larry Hogan would win Texas by a lean margin. I do think the Trump base, Texas, everything's large in Texas. And so, Texas, there's a big Trump base, I would say. Pretty big Trump base. And Larry Hogan losing that would hurt him. But then there's traditional Republicans, just like, I'll vote Republican, whatever, I don't really care, voters. he would win those, and he would keep. And I don't think Steve Bullock would like if Democrats want to win in Texas. You have like Texas. I could see Steve Bullock winning by a tilt margin, barely. That's extremely unlikely. I think the best case scenario, while being realistic, would be a tilt margin for the Republicans. I don't really know. Texas is super hard for me for some reason. Well, actually, I'm just going to say tilt for Larry Hogan. Because I just see Steve Bullock being somewhat appealing, but not enough appealing. But Larry Hogan, he just gets the job done for them. So, and Arizona, Nevada. I think Arizona would be a lean margin, and Nevada would be also lean margin. I think Steve Bullock would do well. You know, Montana's somewhat geographically close, but not super close, but somewhat close. And I think that would be pretty good um, for Steve Bullock. I think he would win a lot of independent white voters and moderate voters in Arizona. In Nevada, he would win a lot of the not Trump based Republicans, independent Republicans in the up part. Sorry, in like the upper parts of the state. Like usually this part right here and under of Nevada's Democratic, while up here is more Republican. I feel like some parts of Nevada is somewhere where Steve Bullock would do well in. Areas that Steve Bullock, places that are like Montana that Steve Bullock would do well in, I think he would do well in as well. But the final prediction would be Larry Hogan getting 332 to Steve Bullock's 306. This is a hard one for me. You know, these people, they have a lot. Like, I feel like Steve Bullock would be a strong candidate. Larry Hogan's a weak one. I want to flip some states, but I just don't know that much about Steve Bullock where I can say something. So I'm going to have to give it to Steve Bullock, though I think everybody can agree that he would win. He would be a stronger person. He would win a lot of white independent voters that Biden won in 2020. I think because I think he could hold on to them for a while. Biden Biden versus Trump, Biden will lose those voters. But against Bullock, I think he could be able to hold them because he's not like Biden. I think that he could win the suburbs, he could win a lot of white voters, and everything else. And that's if you do math this way. Let's do a very, very fast best case scenario for each party. Um, let's say I don't know, likely. Let's say likely Nevada, lean Montana, maybe. Likely Michigan, likely Pennsylvania. This I would say in the best case scenario, Wisconsin would still be lean, but just like by 5 points. So you know what? Steve Bullock would win Texas in the best case scenario, in my opinion, by a tilt margin. Lean in North Carolina. Lean. Oops. Lean in Iowa. Kansas. Lean in Iowa. And lean in the second district. I don't even know about the second district. It's kind of hard. And safe in that. And I think that would be the best case scenario. And the best case scenario for Larry Hogan, safe, 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 safe. Oops. Okay, I hate these districts sometimes. Okay. Um, when Larry Hogan would win, lean margin maybe best case. Lean margin, also lean margin, likely margin. Oops, that's not likely. And likely, best case scenario, Larry Hogan wise. Lean. Minus C. I guess that could happen. I think maybe. And I would say that maybe. I don't know, to be honest. Tilt. And lean as well. That's the best case scenario, but I'm. But what I think the actual map would look like is like this. And maybe I'd give it to Larry Hogan. Okay, and then Kansas. I also changed my mind. I'm actually going to give Indiana in the likely category. But this is what I think the map would look like. This was a fun one for me to do. I hope you guys liked it. Tell me what you guys think who would win. If you guys agree with me in the comments below. Tell me what you want me to do next. Please like and subscribe. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys again soon.